Thank you, Chairman Tonko. This hearing today is one of the most important hearings of my congressional career. The health and future of the auto industry matters to everybody in this country. Yet the industry is more fragile than ever right now, and policymakers cannot take its health for granted. It is also critical for the future of this planet that we have continued reductions in greenhouse gas emissions and improvements in fuel economy, which is why I believe we need all parties to come to the table and cut a deal on standards that increase year over year and balance the twin goals of environmental protection and affordability. And by the way, we shouldn't just be setting standards through 2025. We should be going to 2030 to provide greater certainty and demonstrate global leadership in this critical environmental issue. I'm out of time, but I want to say this. We need California at the table. We need one national program, one set of standards, and I do not believe this administration is dealing in good faith in doing that. I want to put into the record, Madam Chair, a copy of the letters that the industry is saying that we need to have one set of standards. I know that when there's a will, there's a way, and I question the administration's sincerity in bringing everyone to the table and hope we can get there. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you for organizing this hearing today. Before I begin my questions, just in case you didn't know it, I want to make one thing perfectly clear. One national program for fuel economy with strong, reasonable standards that increase year over year and balance the twin goals of environmental protection or affordability are critical. Strong fuel economy standards have kept our environment clean, reduced our dependence on foreign oil, and have saved consumers money at the pump. The administration's proposed rule has listed several options, the most unacceptable being the flatlining of fuel economy standards. Flatlining is harmful to American leadership and innovation, as well as the environment. Additionally, the administration needs to respect, it just needs to respect California's role in the process. And I'm saying this as a Michigander who's had a real, it's been a history. And you got to treat them as an equal partner in negotiations rather than revoking their waiver under the Clean Air Act, which it would result in years of litigation and uncertainty for an industry and their employees and across the country that simply can't take this uncertainty. I'm really not interested in a pissing contest between California and this administration, to be perfectly blunt. And I take offense at this letter because I care about this, and just like I've nagged you two and everybody else in the administration, I have talked to Mary Nichols regularly, and I know she's wanted to come back to this table, and you all, quite frankly, have not put this table together, and it really bothers me. I understand that you don't believe California's got a right to regulate in this space, but we do know that cutting a deal with them can save the industry money, give them more certainty, and reduce emissions as well. That's why they've written you a letter, and that's why they've written California a letter and said we need one standard. Mr. Wareham and Administrator King, what's more important to this administration? Scratching your ideological itch by picking a fight with California or solving a problem by cutting a deal that maximizes environmental benefits and affordability?
Executing the laws given by Congress that we execute in the executive branch.
Mr. Wareham, and your law's clear.
Yes, ma'am. The President gave us two overarching instructions with regard to this rule. One, he instructed us to go try to make a deal with California last year. He said, go try.
Yes, I know he did.
And he said, get this rule done. So from my perspective, we made an honest and a good faith effort to find
Even the industry doesn't believe that, Mr. Wareham. I talk to everybody every single week, and that's why I'm coming at all of you. American people are tired of conflict. They're tired of partisan bickering. They want us to get something done. They want us to come up with practical solutions to practical problems. It's not rocket science. The Obama administration put 5% increases. You're proposing a flat line. There's not a way to compromise someplace in here? Would you two committing, if we hear Mary Nichols on the next panel say she's willing to go to the table, will you commit to resume discussions immediately on a compromise? Yes or no?
My answer is we'll keep doing what the president said, so.
So I have to call the president and ask him to ask you to go back to the table?
No. He said make a good faith effort, so I'm willing.
Well,
to
I don't
continue to
think
make-
your effort's been good faith.
Well, I disagree, but I'm willing to continue making a good faith effort, but I'm also going to get this rule done as soon as I can.
She says she'll come to the table. Can we get that and the autos want you to go. What's it going to take? And Ms. King, would you go back to the table?
I don't know whether that would actually achieve the goal. I think it would be, first of all, of course, did meet for more than a year, or did meet for about a year.
And then you stopped.
I would be concerned about the uncertainty for automakers should this rulemaking be dragged out for several more years.
But they're worried about the uncertainty. If it's going to be dragged out, this is going to the courts. You and I both know that this is going to end up in the courts. And that's an uncertainty they don't want, and they've written you and written the president and told people that that's not what they want.
In my experience, these rules tend to go to the courts regardless of whether
This rule is going to go to the court. I just am going to make, the auto industry is very fragile right now. And that's a message I want everybody here to take too. And we can't take its health for granted. President Trump came to my state. He promised we'd improve manufacturing in this country. But everything you do creates chaos. Trade is creating chaos. The lack of clarity on the rule for autonomous vehicles, which this committee and the House did pass. And now your two agencies are seeking to throw another wrench into this mix with misguided proposal on fuel economy. Revoking California's waiver, flatlining the standards will take years to litigate and will cost this industry a significant amount in regulatory uncertainty and the inability to move ahead. I urge you to go back to the table, please. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chair Nichols, I want to thank you for flying across the country to be with us this afternoon. My first question is just a yes or no, but I'll give you time to elaborate further on it in a minute. The world has changed from the last time there was a negotiated deal on fuel economy standards in 2012. Gas prices are significantly lower today than we expected back then, and the overall adoption rate of electric vehicles is also far lower than predicted. And contrary to Mr. Friedman, I do think they matter. Chair Nichols, would you agree that conditions have changed since 2012 and are different than what we expected, yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. It's hard to make projections far into the future, and it's clear there is a need to make some tweaks. But we don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. The Trump administration has been reckless in proposing these flatline standards, which would hurt jobs in my state and harm the environment as well. Chair Nichols, do you agree that cutting a deal with the Trump administration is the best way forward to address our twin goals of environmental protection and affordability? Are you prepared to go back to the negotiating table in good faith?
We have always been prepared to go to the negotiating table in good faith, and we still are.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Mr. Nasser now for a minute, because I want to make it sure that everybody did understand you and your testimony, asking you the same questions that I asked. I assume that you don't think the flatliner, I think that flatline is correct, but do you agree that there is a need to go back to the table, that circumstances have changed? And how does the uncertainty of the standards impact UAW members in the industry?
Well, first of all, thank you for the question. First of all, the uncertainty, as I said, these are global companies, and they're just looking at where the most stable investments and the growth can be. And if it's less attractive here, they'll go elsewhere. I mean, so that's that part. As far as flatlining, we think that is taking us backwards. I do want to say what we like about the current standards is the footprint model in general, because that really takes a not one size fits all, and also the credit system in general is a good idea. So the framework is already there. We do think some adjustments could be needed, but that's why we should all be talking and working together.
But you do think they're needed. You don't think existing standards, or do you not think the existing standards are a problem?
Oh no,
Yeah, that's what I want to be clear on. Now, I don't want anybody thinking the UAW thinks that there haven't been changes in the climate.
No. what I'm saying is going forward, when we look to 2025, we should be talking and we always look forward to the midterm review, and we think that discussion is needed. It's just not happening now. And by the way, we played a role in getting all the parties together before. We want to do it again, but we need,
Well,
a
you were
lot
at
of
the
leadership
table
now.
last time, don't you? Do you believe you should be at the table again?
Yeah, I think we all should be, for sure.
Yep.
Everyone
Thank
here.
you. I'm going to come back to you in a minute, but I want to make sure I get my questions in. Mr. Schweitzer, David, I'm sorry. Is it correct that fuel economy targets in other countries across the globe are higher than in the United States?
That's not necessarily the case if you look at the types of vehicles that are driven in the U.S. The U.S. is certainly an innovator as it relates to the vehicles that consume.
But, so we actually have higher standards?
We do.
Thank you. Are your companies investing millions of dollars today to meet those higher global requirements, yes or no?
Not just millions, but tens of billions.
Thank you. Does the Auto Alliance have member companies which are investing large sums of money into R&D for electric vehicles?
Absolutely, they're fully committed.
I hope, therefore, it's clear to people here that the Trump administration, California, is the best way to proceed for the environment, for jobs, and for the future of technology. And the future of technology, and there are Republicans and Democrats here who want to help get everybody back at the table. I'm going to go back to you, Mr. Nasser, for a minute, because it sounds like the United States is falling behind in the production of electric vehicles. I'm not sure it's in the production, but what do we need to do to support EVs? What will happen if the Congress does not support policies to support EVs?
Well, first of all, the investments in EVs is Germany, China, other places will really have a more, I'd say, a systematic and greater investment plan. So what's simply going to happen is we don't want to look up one day and say, hey, we're not making the vehicles that people are buying or needing, and therefore our industry is really taking a hit, and a lot of working people, don't have a job. And I just want to say, it's really important that when we do these standards, we do them in a way that looks at the longer-term impact as well as just the short-term.
So do we also need to be investing in infrastructure and tax credits?
Absolutely. So as far as EV infrastructure
trying to take
is
you
needed,
anyplace.
also tax credits, also. But I want to state again that with federal subsidies, there should be requirements that it has to be built in the United States, and I mean that's tax credits as well. And also, we need to build out the EV infrastructure a lot more.
Thank you, Mr.